Well, in Manchester right now, people and dignitaries, members of the police force are all gathering for a vigil to take place to mark the memories of those 22 people who lost their lives at that bombing. It took place at Manchester Arena, where a pop concert had just finished. Many of the concert goers were young people, children and teenagers. One who's been identified was as young as 8 years old. Political leaders also in Manchester. You can see Tim Farron at the back of the picture there. Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party, is also there, as is Theresa May, who called this a barbaric act. That vigil taking place in Albert Square in the heart of Manchester. Well, let's bring in John Brain, who's in Manchester, our correspondent who joins us now live. And let's just start with the latest investigation. A lot of lines coming out. Obviously, a lot of people asking the question, you know, who was behind this bombing? What were the motives? And we know that earlier Daesh had claimed responsibility.
Yes, that's right. Fairly classic Daesh tactics, this sort of atrocity. But it's interesting that this is the first major attack here in the UK since the London tube bombings back in 2005. The security services here have been remarkably successful in preventing this type of incident since then. There have been a few smaller cases of terrorism, and Britain has really been a role model for how to tackle this sort of extremism. But clearly something has broken down on this occasion. Either the intelligence or something else has just gone wrong in their sort of pattern, because over the past few years they've thwarted numerous plots of this kind and have arrested dozens of people. But the security services have always said that another attack after the London tube bombings was always going to happen at some point. They said it was always a question of when rather than if. Well, the when has happened now.
So, latest reports that a man called Salman Abedi has been identified as the bomber. We know that another man, a 23-year-old man, has been arrested. Just take us through what police and intelligence services will now be doing, John.
Well, they'll be scrutinising every fact about Salman Abedi and this other man who's been arrested. They'll be looking at all their associates. They'll be looking at any communications they've had in recent weeks, months, perhaps even years. And it's possible that these men would have been on some sort of terrorist watch list, but they may have been so low down that watch list that they weren't considered a serious or an imminent threat, because the police here are monitoring hundreds of people, but they can't carry out surveillance, full surveillance on all of them. It's just too time-consuming. They haven't got those sorts of resources. And it may be that they didn't give enough priority to Salman Abedi, or, of course, even more worryingly, he may not have been on their radar at all.
John, for the moment, thank you very much indeed for that. John Brain in Manchester. And just across the city, the vigil taking place. We're hearing from religious leaders right now.
We will pull through the events of last night because we will stand together. Stand together, whatever our background, whatever our religion, whatever our beliefs or our politics, we will stand together to say that this city is greater than the forces that align itself against it. And as we say that, we're sending a signal not just to Manchester, but across the world, that you cannot defeat us, because love in the end is always stronger than hate. So tonight we're still in shock, we're still grieving, and we're angry. But we can direct those feelings in a positive direction. Our grief can help us to draw close to those who've lost loved ones at this time. Our compassion And help us draw close to those who will need support, not just this day and this next week, but those young people whose lives have been changed for the decades of life they still have ahead of them. We need to look after them and see that we're there for them, not just for now, but for as long as they need us, because they too, whether they were local people or from farther away, from now on, they are Manchester too. And even our anger can be a force for God if we direct it not towards hatred, but towards a determination that the terrorists can't win. If we direct it towards a determination to work together, to fight for the future of this city as our ancestors fought for its future in their generations. This town hall, which symbolises so much of our civic life, what is once again tonight the symbol of unity for Manchester. As people of whatever faith, please pray for us, hold us in your thoughts, your hearts this night, for that in itself too will strengthen us. And remember this warm, sunny evening in Manchester, in which we have also welcomed the world into our hearts to see us grieve and to know that our grief will not destroy us, but will remake us. Thank you for being Manchester.
So a vigil in Manchester, political leaders, religious leaders, members of the police force and members of the public coming together to mark the deaths of 22 people in that suicide bomb attack on Monday night.